Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. You know, the Scottish historian Thomas Carlyle once said, "Every man is my superior and that I may learn from him." Well, I think that can be clearly updated today to every person is my superior and that I can learn from them. And that includes you. You know, perhaps you have a personal transformation journey that will motivate and inspire others, or maybe you have a unique system that can help others. Well, one of the most proven and time-honored ways to share your knowledge is by writing a book. And before you say, whoa, me write a book? Well, you know, a lot of people think that it's too big of a task or too time-consuming. You know, or maybe that you've dreamt of writing a book, but you have too many ideas swimming around in your head, and you just need some help getting it out in a structured way that would truly help others. Well, my guest today, that's exactly what she does. She helps people just like you take it from dream to reality. Jenny Joy is a transformational coach and a #1 best-selling author of the Soul Garden Mom's Journal. She's also the co-founder of the Book Doulas, where she helps ordinary people tell their extraordinary stories through her Birth Your Book program. Jenny Joy, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Thank you so much, Jack. I'm so delighted to be here.
Well, I'm delighted that you are here too. One, because you just have this infectious energy and positive vibe about you, and I'm really looking forward to hear how you spread that to others. So I'd like to kick it off with asking you, how did your Birth Your Book program come about?
Wonderful question. Yeah. And just to give you a background, starting out, I did not think I would be a writer. I was maybe someone who would hang out in the background more in the world as a young child. And that's because I did go through some traumatic experiences. And that had me really hold off from shining my light. I became a little bit more protective of myself and stood back in the crowds. But I always had this deep compassion for others' journeys and just to understand like what their own personal struggles were. I recall, even in the schoolyard, being a very young girl and seeing a young boy who was picked on, and he would just sit at lunchtime by a tree. And I felt compelled to go talk to him and befriend him to make sure he felt like he wasn't alone. And so at a young age, I did know that was a part of my kind of like tapestry in the world was to help others to feel like they weren't alone, to feel like they were connected. And then my own personal history, I did have some personal traumas as I mentioned, and one of the major traumas in my life was being sexually abused as a young child. And one thing that my abuser had said was he put his hand over my mouth and he told me, "Don't tell anyone or I will kill you." And so as a young child, I felt very silenced. And so my personal journey led me to, seek various healers and to really overcome and transform the kind of wounded innocence that I had gone through, and then how to really learn how to shine my light and share my gifts with the world. And my background actually also happens to be in some shamanic practices. And I was in a deep meditation one day, and I received this message that you are here to give voice to the voiceless. And that was just so powerful. That's basically become my mission, and to basically help others share whatever they've been through. Like I like to say, you can turn your mess into your message. And that's where over the years I had learned, like, oh, some of the struggles I'd gone through, I really learned to look at them not as just, oh, these really unfortunate woundings of my past, as just like, wow, these experiences happened for whatever reason, just trusting in the divine plan of these happened for whatever reason. And now I'm here today to help others to transform and move beyond, their own personal tragedies, and then share what these gifts are that come from, when you move through transforming like a phoenix through a fire, you almost have to rebirth yourself into the world. And that's really how this Birth Your Book program came about. Is I became a #1 bestselling author by sharing my own personal journey and story. And then I helped someone else do the same thing. And when I was helping her, she was just loving the experience she had with me. And she started calling me the book doula. She was like, you're so wonderful. You're like a book doula. And that's really how that all came to be. Is I was like, that's so great. I had a book doula where I gave birth, and I was so touched that she thought that I was a book doula. So that's how it all came to be, and how we now offer programs. My partner Rebecca and I offer programs to help others birth their stories into life.
Well, I think a lot of people who have thought about, writing a book, put their story out there, they felt the frustrations and the obstacles that come with that. And it certainly is a gift to be able to help someone birth that, that stuff that's in their head, and actually be able to put it together and make it in a form that can really help others. And, besides the tactical part of doing that, you talked about overcoming some of your own traumas. And, it certainly to me sounds like it took a tremendous amount of courage to put yourself out there. Is that something that you can help people do? That you find that people maybe need a little help, building up that courage to put their story out there, or to share something that maybe they haven't shared before?
Yeah, most definitely, Jack. Great question. I find people come to me, and sometimes they have a great idea, and they have these desires and these passions that they want to bring out into the world. And they almost feel like, but who am I to share this message? Like, really, who's going to want to read or hear what I have to say? And if anyone can relate to like some of the traumas like that I had experienced, I definitely had to go through that, because when you're put through something like that, and it doesn't even have to be as traumatic as that, when you have core woundings as a young child, they can often show up in ways or manifest in ways where we have a hard time putting ourselves out there, speaking out, putting yourself out there as an author, and so often what I have are modalities that I can help people look at, the areas where they might have struggled in the past, and we actually go back and we heal those parts of them. So like the young child that felt like they were not able to use their voice for whatever reason, we go back and we heal those parts of them so that they are able to show up really fully in the world and to shine their light, to use their voice, to feel like their voice matters. And so that's one of the gifts that I like to share. And it's kind of like a behind the scenes little bonus gift that they get for coming to me is most often that's a little like hidden. I would say like it's very disguised. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination. Like people just put off that book and just stick it on the shelf and like they just like, oh yeah, I'll get to that one day. Well, sometimes those are the cleverly disguised little gremlins that I like to call them, and there's actually a deeper layer there of why we're not allowing ourselves to complete on our personal passions, and so that's something that I find that I'm actually able to help people move through, and then have their books come alive in the world.
Yeah, it sounds like it's so much more than putting thoughts to paper, that it's actually a cathartic experience, especially when you talk about, that first person that you helped with their book and that I guess, kind of anointed you, the book doula. It almost has to be more than just, getting those thoughts down onto paper. What, I would imagine that it comes from the experience that, I guess, would you break it down to when people realize that whatever it is that they experienced or whatever it is that they figured out how to overcome or some achievement that they've figured out how to accomplish, it's the realization that, oh, there's other people that have this same desire, the same obstacles, because that realization of, oh, I'm not alone is a huge change in perspective for a lot of people. Do you find that happens over the course of the progress as you're working through this?
Yes, definitely. I feel that when people see this kind of thread that weaves through their story and how like they have this glimpse of like, oh wow, I've come through, on my own personal journey, I have moved through this. And here I am on the other side of this. And wow, could my own personal story make a difference to someone else? And then they think back to like what they went through before overcoming all this. And they're like, oh, wow, I could have really used someone to hold my hand or to, even just know that I wasn't alone. So most definitely, I think that when we can share our experiences and see how similar we are, that really, really helps to connect people.
Well, having a story to tell is one thing. And I think there's certainly a lot of people out there that feel that they have that story to tell. And then they get to that and then what? Right. And so how does that happen? Because, I'm sure you've probably come across the people that say, I have a story, but me and my English teacher, we didn't see eye to eye on grammar. And I'm just not, I'm not good at grammar. I'm not good. English never been my forte. I don't know that I'm even qualified to write a book. Where do you start with that person?
Yeah, well, a couple of different areas. If English were the first language and they just didn't feel like grammatically they were the best at their writing skills or typing skills, I might even say like, hey, there are lots of tools out there where you can actually audio record yourself, and you could go out there. And I like to get people into one of the things I start people off at is creating what their creative oasis would be, like how to get them in their like creative flow. And so that's finding wherever that is for you. And so sometimes that's for people going out in nature. And then I say like, just bring your phone and you can audio record into there. And that's a way you could, and then you can have those transcribed. And I have lots of suggestions for people where they could sometimes do this for free. So which is really, really awesome. And then there also is, inside of our Birth Your Book program, we offer like a copywriting consultation with an expert editor. And they will help you kind of like understand and craft and like kind of give you an idea of, how your writing can best be presented, right? If there are just a couple little tweaks we need to make here or there, or do you need a little more support inside of writing that? And sometimes, it really depends. You could also get a ghostwriter. That's not like my specialty with people, but I do have resources if that were something that someone needed support with. Further, if there was really like a grammatically needing more help in structure or language, maybe a language barrier as well.
So it sounds like the most important thing is substance. If you have the substance, you can help them overcome the any form problems that they may have as far as that structure. And I'm guessing that, or you can tell me how important is it to be, just absolutely grammatically correct? Because, even some of the greatest writers, when you think about, Ernest Hemingway, or, they speak or they write the way that a lot of people speak, which isn't necessarily proper sentence structure. Do you find that it has to be something that would pass your grammar test, or is it more something that people can read and resonate with?
I would have to say it would be the latter. And I find, some people are maybe more poetic in nature, and then they don't, the grammatical sentence structure being perfect, maybe they have a certain prose that they want to present in a certain way. And that is what they're more committed to than having this finite, grammatically correct piece. And I was helping one writer out, and, kind of, we were correcting things here and there. And at the end of the day, they wanted to stick to what they felt was something that they felt more passionate about. And that was presenting something that it was a little more poetic. So, at the end of the day, you're going to have your audience that's going to gravitate towards you. Of course, there's like the basics of grammar, like, spelling and things like that would be, that's just going to be a more professional thing. You're going to present something and come off more professionally when you're able to have things like that be more grammatically correct.
Is it as part of your program to help people, maybe once they get that rawness down, that they can turn it over to someone to maybe polish it up? Yeah,
we have a copywriting consultation. That's like $1,000 value that that they receive within the package. And so, and we can do like a very light edit, but if it's something that required much more detailed combing through and restructuring, then that copywriter would give them a quote on what they would recommend. So there definitely is something woven into the package, and then there is support available if that person chooses to receive it.
And so you mentioned something, you talk about structure. Do you have kind of frameworks that people can use to kind of understand how to structure their book? Because I guess ultimately, books, like any story, starts with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then do you help them kind of fill in the blanks of where things should go?
Of course. Yeah. And that really depends on the type of book that someone is writing, like be it a novel or a story. So often we will bring in the hero's journey, and we will help them kind of piece it together in that framework. If that's their style of book. And then, sometimes if it's a system, like a tip book, or sometimes there's like a quote book that someone might write, that might be a different outlining. but we definitely set people up and have them create their outline so that they have sort of their backbone to and their foundation. And then once they have that together, the pieces of the book flow in much easier.
And I guess that's where I believe you, I think a great saying you have is to turn your mess into message, is what you said before. And I think that right there kind of sums it up to people that, they feel that maybe they do have a mess. And if that can be turned into a message, then, that takes them a lot of the way there. So the writing is one thing. And I'm sure, we talked about the kind of, the benefits and the catharsis and things like that people go through with putting this together on a personal and even spiritual level. But let's talk about some of the people that you help the book intertwine with their business or their career that it also benefits them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So, for folks who are an entrepreneur or someone who has a specialized system, something that they've come up with, well, putting that into a book really can help them stand out. And basically, it elevates them to that expert level. And we have a proven system that helps folks become number one best-selling authors. And when you can add that onto your bio, or when you're going out on your next speaking engagement and they can present you as a number one best-selling author, I mean, that really sets you apart from the crowd. And so that's really like a bonus, of writing a book. And sometimes it's like the reason people actually decide to write a book is, it gives them credibility in the world.
So do you also help with this? So not just getting the ideas out and putting it down and getting it structured, but then actually turning it into the end product that they can present to people and actually hand to people. Because I think a lot of people have no concept of where to even begin with that. Is that something that you kind of walk them through the whole way?
Yes, definitely. And sometimes I find that people come to me and they pretty much have almost their whole book completed. And it's like these final pieces of getting it off and uploaded. We do work a lot with Amazon. They are just people have a love-hate relationship with, and at the same time, they're a platform that is just out there in the world. And so you're able to reach many on this platform. And so basically when putting something out there, there's so many intricate pieces, and I find that can also be very daunting. And I call this kind of the last leg, and almost even, that's into your third trimester, right? And into like the definite birthing phase, like baby is coming, right? And it can be quite overwhelming at this point for folks because there's many moving pieces where it's like formatting and understanding the ins and outs of the system of how to upload and how to upload it correctly so it gets in front of the eyes of the right people to get you that bestseller status. So yeah, there really is a strategy, and what we are known for, and the reason we are the Book Doulas is because we have this very nurturing way about us and very grounding. So folks will often come to us in almost this kind of like whirlwind of like spinning out of like, oh my goodness, how do I do this? And it's just about grounding down and like, we can hold your hand through the process, and it's not as hard as it seems once you understand the system and the ins and outs of it.
And you said something that, you talk about the trimesters in that analogy, the whole, birth cycle, which of course is, birthing your book. So let's get deeper into that. If someone, let's say someone says, this is something this is something I've been looking for, Jenny's talking exactly, the process that I've been looking for and what I need to do this. So what does the process look like from when someone decides that, hey, I want to find out more about this to actually getting the process started and kind of what they can expect throughout that program?
Sure. Yeah. So we like to work with our clients one-on-one because everyone, it's a book birthing journey and everyone may come in different stages of their process and of their journey. And we really customize and tailor the program to that person. And, I do bring in a lot of my shamanic tools and I will, dive deep and see like, how can I best serve this one individual in front of me? Like, what do they need? Like, what are their, maybe areas that they might need a little more help in? And of course, we verbalize that as well. And I get feedback from the client. And so they get personalized support from us. So we can like even email them. But, we are having one-on-one sessions twice a month. And we still offer them access because sometimes there are these burning questions. And so we give them email access to us as well. I'm backing up a little bit, just talking about the kind of journey, like the phases of, we offer a 9-month birth your book program. And, we really help you in the beginning phase of it, like look at the creation of your book. And, when it's out in the world, how do you want this to touch, move, and inspire people? And we really bring you into this like visualization process of like seeing your book already completed and birthed into the world, and then getting you into your creative oasis and really being able to, and we even call it that initial stage of the love making, really, really bringing all the passion and the creative juices, like having that fire and that passion there at the beginning of it. Right. And that's how this book is going to be birthed into the world. So getting that excitement going. And so that's your first phase. And then we go a little bit into an implementation phase and kind of dissecting it a little bit more and piecing it all together and the formatting and those structures. And then perhaps there's the areas where you need a little bit more support. And so we offer private healing clarity sessions with myself and my partner, Rebecca. And so that could look like what I talked about earlier. If there's like a block in an area that you're not able to get through, like it could look like a writing block.
And I can imagine. I keep thinking of the analogies. You're doing such a wonderful job with painting the picture of the analogy with the birthing process. I think, so what happens when the morning sickness kicks in and they say, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we have these, and like that's like what a doula is there for, right? If you're birthing an actual baby, the doula is really there, like just backing up, like in an actual like setting, if you were actually birthing a baby, did you know that if you had a midwife or a doctor, their only purpose is to make sure baby and mom come out alive? That's their purpose. The doula's purpose is to make sure mom and baby and even husband or partner feel nurtured, feel taken care of, feel supported. So that's what the doula is there for. So that's what we provide, is really helping that author. And sometimes it's that budding author, right? It's their first time, of how to do this and have this whole process not feel so daunting or overwhelming. And how do I feel nurtured and supported along the way?
One good thing I'd like to make sure that we cover before this ends is that birthing process. I can imagine the pride that your clients feel when that book is published and it's out. I know that people that have published books, and just what a remarkable feeling that overcomes them when that comes out. Can you share that a little bit? Do you have any stories of clients and kind of how they've been impacted or affected by going from idea to actually a book held in their hand?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's such a wonderful thing to witness. And I mean, I've personally experienced it. And one piece we also do offer is we help in that final phase of getting it out there. So also putting it out there in a press release and getting it out there to news outlets. So your book is picked up even more in front of more eyes. And so just all the different ways that they get to be in the world and to be known as a #1 best-selling author is just like, for some, it's a dream come true. For some, one client, like I wasn't even attached to it. Like I had this one client, she was not attached to it at all. And I was there rooting for her behind the scenes. And I was even like taking screenshots for her and like sending them to her. Look, you're at #3. Oh, look, you're at #2. And overnight she became a #1 best-selling author. And she I think she almost like didn't allow herself to even think, or be attached to that, because what if, there's so many, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, what if it doesn't happen? So they kind of just don't fully attach themselves to that idea. But I mean, it is so possible if you follow the steps. It happens. It does. We trust the process. And yeah, people are so delighted. And it's like the stories they get, like the reviews they get, like someone wrote in about, how their journey helped them overcome when their like wife had cancer, and, the miracles that get to happen because your story helped someone else. It's hearing those stories that really bring so much joy.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a whole other side of this process and the outcome that's almost intangible, that people benefit from. And I have to say that the way that you do this is, really unique and in the very spiritual way that you get this accomplished. And I know a lot of that comes from your background. And so I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that background, because I know you have this, holistic, very spiritual background that you touched on a little bit, but I know you have the Soul Garden Space community. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then how that intertwines into what you're doing with the Book Doulas?
Of course. Yeah. So at Soul Garden Space, our commitment is to birthing your passions, or actually we nurture seeds. We nurture seeds of love and creativity at Soul Garden Space. And so that's whatever you're passionate about, be it music, be it the arts, be it fitness, be it health, whatever your personal passions are, it's all about cultivating your soul's essence. And how do you feed that? I am a mom as well. So, I will help moms as well overcome that part where some of their light got diminished because they were spending so much time helping a little one. And it's really about like finding sometimes our soul's essence kind of gets buried in the world because we're just out there working. And sometimes people are like, oh, I just got to make ends meet. And so we forget sometimes some of these things that bring us passion and light in the world. And so it's really about cultivating that. And so we have tools like my husband and I have meditations and music. So that's one piece of it. And we have a whole other thing about bringing music to kids. So we have a lot of passions in the creative field. And really what's there is, the Soul Garden Space is this kind of umbrella, and that encompasses the Birth Your Book program, because it's really about, bringing your passion to the world. And so if your passion is helping people and sharing your message, then Birth Your Book program and the Book Doulas is one segment of that. If that is finding your own peace and balance in your life, then Soul Garden Space has some other tools to help you feel like you can thrive and really, really feel alive in the world.
Well, I said at the beginning of this episode that your passion and your positivity and just the vibe is infectious, and I think you've demonstrated that here today. You've proven me right. So I appreciate you sharing this, and I think that what you're doing makes a big difference and gets people to accomplish something that they may thought that just wasn't accomplishable, if that's a word. So I really thank you for sharing this. If someone wants to find out more about Jenny Joy or getting involved with the Birth Your Book program, or even with the Soul Garden Space community, how can they do that?
Sure. Well, the Birth Your Book program can be found at the Book Doulas with an S.com, because there's more than one doula. So thebookdoulas.com, and you'll find all about our 9-month Birth Your Book program. And they can also sign up. We have a free guide there. It's the 10 secrets to becoming a #1 best-selling author. We have a free guide they can sign up for. And then we also offer a soul clarity session, so they can just get clear on, if writing a book is right for them. And Soul Garden Space is soulgardenspace.com. And we are also on Facebook and Instagram under Soul Garden Space.
And I definitely wanted to spend just a minute, if you could, talking about your own best-selling book, that Soul Garden Mom's journal, and kind of how that ties into what you're doing and what you're helping others. Can you talk about how that folds together?
Of course. Yeah. So Soul Garden Mom's journal is an inspirational guide and journal for cultivating the garden of your life. So I touched a little bit about how at Soul Garden Space, we're really passionate about you cultivating your soul essence. And I did touch on how moms are often the last person on their list. They give to their family. And sometimes they just, forget to nourish themselves. So it's about nourishing your soul so that you have that, everyone can see where someone's a little burnt out in the world, and maybe their head's walking down, but then you also know the difference when someone is just full of light and passion. So that's really the inspiration of the journal, was to give moms a tool to cultivate that for themselves, so they're really nourished, their soul is nourished so that they can continue to nourish their family.
Well, I love the way this all ties together and what you do, demonstrating exactly what you're helping people do, I think is really powerful. And so again, I want to thank you for coming on and taking the time to share this with us today.
Thank you, Jack. You are such an inspiration and everything you share on your shows. Thank you so much for what you bring to the world.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. Folks, there you have it. Definitely check out the Book Doulas. The bookdoulas.com. We'll have a link there on the show post, as well as the Jenny's book, Soul Garden Mom's Journal, because not only can you look at that at several levels, the great content that she has in there and the inspiration and motivation that she provides, but also you can look at the vehicle that she can help you to create for yourself and your own story. And of course, regardless of where you are in that journal, soulgardenspace.com is a great place for you to explore and, get closer to that positivity and that infectious vibe that Jenny has. So until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today.